Okay, today is the 27th of August, and we have just come to the 47th Samyutta of the Samyutta Nikaya. It's a very important chapter called the Satipatthana Samyutta. A lot of people only read one sutta about Satipatthana, that is a Satipatthana Sutta, and they think they know all about Satipatthana. But inside here, we have many suttas concerning Satipatthana. According to this translation, 104 suttas. So, if you go through this Satipatthana Samyutta, you will have a very much better idea about Satipatthana, because the Satipatthana Sutta or the Satipatthana Sutta doesn't talk so much on, it gives the objects of meditation. It doesn't tell you exactly how to practice it, as well as the many suttas in this chapter. Now, what is Satipatthana? First, we have to understand what is Sati, because Sati, or right Sati, is the seventh factor of the Noble Eightfold Path. So, because it is a factor of the Noble Eightfold Path, it is very important. You've got to practice right Sati if you want to attain liberation, if you want to walk the Noble Eightfold Path of the Buddha. And a lot of people think that Sati and Satipatthana are the same. Even the translation of Satipatthana doesn't distinguish between Sati and Satipatthana. Actually, there should be a difference. So in this translation by Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi, he calls Satipatthana the establishments of mindfulness. Other books you'll find, they call it the foundations of mindfulness. It's quite a common translation, but I think the more correct translation, according to my understanding of Satipatthana, is intense state of recollection. So this Sati, first we have to be very clear what is Sati. The definition of Sati, fortunately, is given in about 9 suttas in the Nikayas, and it's very consistent, and it's always the same. And you can find this in the Sutta Samyutta Nikaya 48.10. That's on page 1672. Here it is factor of Indriya faculties. I look at page 1672 in the middle. And what mounts is the faculty of Sati. Here mounts, the noble disciple is recollected. Here it says mindful. Possessing supreme discretion. That's according to the Pali Text Society translation. Possessing supreme discrimination. One who remembers and recollects what was done and said long ago. So here you may argue about this translation about mindful or recollected, possessing supreme discrimination or possessing supreme mindfulness and discretion. But you cannot argue about the last part. The last part says, he remembers and recollects what was done and said long ago. So this word Sati has a lot to do with remembering. Here it says it's the quality of being able to remember, because if you have Sati, then you can remember what was done and said a long time ago. In fact, if you have perfect Sati, like the Buddha, he can recall his past lives. His Sati is so good that he can remember what he said and did a long time ago, even in the past lives. So that has to do with Sati. That is why later you'll find this Arahant, Anuruddha, who has very powerful psychic power. His psychic power is so great that he can see 1,000 world systems like in the palm of his hand. And they ask him, what did you cultivate to attain such great psychic power? And he says, Satipatthana. So Sati and Satipatthana have a lot to do with remembering. So after when we go through the suttas, you will understand why Sati has to do with remembering. So the main point about sati is that it is a quality of remembering. Now, Satipatthana should be intent, according to my translation, is intense state of recollection. So this sati, a good translation for it is recollection, remembering. And patthana consists of two words, pa and thana. If you look into my book, Mindfulness, Recollection and Concentration, it explains why I use this translation, intense state of recollection. So this definition of sati is given in suttas like Anguttara Nikaya 5.14, Majjhima Nikaya 53, etc. Okay, let's go through the first sutta. As we go through the suttas, slowly the pieces will fall together and you get better understanding. 47.1, thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Vesali in Ambapali's grove. There, the Blessed One addressed the monks thus, Monks, Nabu Sir, the monks replied. The Blessed One said, Monks, this is the one-way path for the purification of beings, for the overcoming of sorrow and lamentation, for the passing away of pain and displeasure, for the achievement of the method, for the realization of Nibbana, that is, the four Satipatthanas. Stop here for a moment. So here, this translation calls it a one-way path for the purification of beings. The Pali word is ekayana maggo, and a good translation, according to Venerable Bhikkhu Nyanamoli, is the path leading one way. That means a path, it's a one-way road. Jalan Sahala, goes only one direction. So it only leads you to Nibbana, nowhere else. So that's the meaning of this paragraph that says the four Satipatthanas leads you to the achievement of the Nibbana. Here monks, a monk dwells contemplating the body in the body, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, having removed covetousness and grief in regard to the world. He dwells contemplating feelings in feelings, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, having removed covetousness and displeasure in regard to the world. He dwells contemplating mind in mind, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, or recollected, having removed covetousness and displeasure or grief in regard to the world. He dwells contemplating Dhamma in Dhamma, ardent, clearly comprehending, recollected, having removed covetousness and grief in regard to the world. Stop here for a moment. So here, you can see what is this Satipatthana. Satipatthana is contemplating the body in the body, contemplating feelings in feelings, contemplating mind in mind, and contemplating Dhamma in Dhamma. In other words, Satipatthana, when you practice Satipatthana, you only contemplate four things. Four things, not any other thing. That's why it has got to do with remembering. To remember, to put your mindfulness only on four objects. Because if you don't remember, then your mind will start wandering out to the sixth sense doors and all that. So instead of putting your mind wherever it likes to drift, you pull it back only to be mindful of four things. That's why the quality of remembering, to remember to put your mindfulness only on four things. So why does it say contemplating the body in the body? I think what it means is that your mindfulness is centered on the body, not among thoughts and all that. Sometimes, if you are contemplating one thing, your mind can stray, and at the same time you can contemplate other things. So in which case, you are contemplating one object among other objects. But if you contemplate one object, in that object only, your mind does not stray. It's fully focused on one thing only. This one also has to do with, like in the Anapanasati Sutta, they talk about first having set up mindfulness in front of him. And they come to explain that. It's a bit connected. So contemplating the body in the body means your full attention is placed in the body, not in thoughts and other things. Sometimes, like for example, if we are practicing mindfulness of the breath, we can be contemplating on our breath. But if your mind is not strongly focused on the breath, it starts to wander. You're still aware of your breath in, out, but you're also at the same time you're thinking of your office work, thinking of your family, all this thing. So that is not totally focused. So the idea here is that body in the body means totally focused on one and only one object. Then here the obvious is really comprehending, mindful. These two words in this translation always refers to two Pali words. Clearly comprehending means clearly aware, and that is the translation for sampajanya. And this word mindful here, that's the translation for sati, so which we translate as recollected, because sati is also recollection. So you can say mindful, recollected, having removed covetousness and grief in regard to the world. This one I explained before, covetousness and grief in regard to the world. This arises when you crave for sensual objects like sights, sounds, smells, tastes, touch, thoughts. So when you crave for it, you have this covetousness. You want to covet it, you want to possess it. And then if you cannot get it, then displeasure or grief arises. So on the one hand, there's one person who can get what he wants. He continues to want to possess something. On the other hand, if he cannot get it, then displeasure or grief arises. So in other words, this person, if he wants to practice his sati, he gives up the things connected with the world. He does not want to covet, possess things in the world, so that no grief arises. So similarly, he dwells contemplating feelings in feelings, mind in mind, and Dhamma in Dhamma. Here, Dhamma is translated as phenomena. But as we saw the other day, when we went through the chapter on the Bojjhangas, it was stated how to practice the 7 Bojjhangas. First, you draw near to an Aryan or Arahant if possible, and then you learn the Dhamma from him. Having learned the Dhamma from him, then you recollect the Dhamma, that is sati. You recollect the Dhamma, and then after you recollect the Dhamma, you start investigating the Dhamma. It's the investigation of states. So although we have these 4 objects of sati here, or Satipatthana, actually the Dhamma, the teachings of the Buddha are the most important, because I mentioned before, there are only 5 occasions when a person becomes enlightened, becomes an Arahant, and 4 of them have to do with the Dhamma. The first one is listening to the Dhamma, he becomes liberated. Second one is teaching the Dhamma. Third one is repeating the Dhamma. Fourth is reflecting on the Dhamma. Then only the last is during meditation. So the Buddha's Dhamma is extremely important. So here Dhamma should not be phenomenal, it should be the Buddha's Dhamma. This monks is the one-way path for the purification of beings, for the overcoming sorrow and lamentation, for the passing away of pain and displeasure, for the achievement of the method, for the realization of Nibbana, that is, the 4 Satipatthanas, 4 intense states of recollection. This is what the Blessed One said. Elated, those monks delighted in the Blessed One's statement. That's the end of this sutta. So, this sutta, I think, is the first part of the Satipatthana Sutta. So this is the basic, gives you a basic idea of the practice of Satipatthana, that you only contemplate 4 things. The second sutta, 47.2. One occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Vesali in Ambapali's grove. There, the Blessed One addressed the monks thus: Monks, Humble Sir, the monks replied. The Blessed One said, Monks, a monk should dwell sati sampajanya. These two words, here we come across them again. Mindful and clearly comprehending is their translation, but I prefer recollected and clearly aware. Clearly aware also means mindful. This is our instruction to you. And how monks is a monk sato? Here sato, this is mindful. Sato comes from the word sati. We can say how is a monk recollected. Here monks, a monk dwells contemplating the body in the body, ardent, clearly aware, recollected, having removed covetousness and displeasure in regard to the world. He dwells contemplating feelings in feelings, mind in mind, Dhamma in Dhamma. It is in this way that a monk is recollected. And how monks does a monk exercise? This is sampajano, clear awareness or mindfulness. Here monks, a monk is one who acts with clear awareness when going forward and returning, when looking ahead and looking aside, when drawing in and extending the limbs, when wearing his robes and carrying his outer robe and bowl, when eating, drinking, chewing his food and tasting, when defecating and urinating, when walking, standing, sitting, falling asleep, waking up, speaking and keeping silent. It is in such a way that a monk exercises clear awareness or mindfulness. Monks, a monk should dwell recollected and clearly aware or mindful. This is our instruction to you. So here, the meaning of these two words, sati sampajanya, is very clearly spelled out here. Sati means putting your attention to contemplate only four things. That's why it has a lot to do with remembering. You have to remember always to put your attention only on four things, not to allow it to stray to other things. Later we'll see why. And then sampajanya is mindfulness. Whatever you do, like walking, standing, sitting, wearing your robes, eating, drinking, etc., you are clearly aware of whatever you are doing. So that is sampajanya. So this sampajanya is general mindfulness. So be very clear, it is not sati that is general mindfulness. It is sampajanya that is general mindfulness. Sati is remembering to put your attention only on four things. Why only put your attention on four things? Because these are the things that if you contemplate, it will help you to attain liberation. If you are mindful of your walking, sitting and all that, it only helps you to be mindful. It doesn't help you become an Arya. But even though it does not help you to become an Arya, this sampajanya, mindfulness, helps you to keep your mind focused instead of running away. As long as you are aware of your body actions, your mind does not run away. I mentioned this before. Once our mind runs away, you forgot about your body already. For example, when you are sitting in meditation, the moment your mind starts running away, you forgot that you are here sitting in meditation. But the moment you remember, I'm here sitting in meditation, the mind comes back to your body. That's why the Buddha always calls mindfulness of the body as a path to the deathless. Mindfulness of the body. As long as you're mindful of your body, your mind does not run away, does not leak away. Because that leaking away is the asava. Asava, the one that causes rebirth. Okay, the third sutta, 47.3. These suttas are quite important, so I'll be going through most of the suttas. 47.3. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. Then a certain monk approached the Blessed One, paid homage to him, sat down to one side and said, Humble Sir, it would be good if the Blessed One would teach me the Dhamma in brief, so that, having heard the Dhamma from the Blessed One, I might dwell alone, withdrawn, diligent, ardent and resolute. Let's stop here for a moment. Many of the Buddha's disciples, after becoming a monk, they have to stay with a acharya, a teacher, for 5 years, basically to learn the suttas and the Vinaya. And after 5 years, the Buddha encouraged them to go off and stay alone in a cave or up in the forest or somewhere. So this monk also wants to go off. So he asked the Buddha for some brief instructions. And the Buddha said, it is in just such a way that some foolish persons here make requests of me. But when the Dhamma has been spoken to them, they think only of following me around. I'll stop here for a moment. So you see this remark of the Buddha. He says, a lot of foolish people, they want to learn the Dhamma from the Buddha. After learning the Dhamma from the Buddha, they want to stick close to the Buddha. A lot of disciples are like that. They like to stick close to the teacher. But good teachers like the Buddha, they want to be alone. They don't want to have a big crowd around them. They don't want to be a superstar. Nowadays we have a lot of superstar monks. So the Buddha doesn't want to be a superstar. He says, these fellows only think of following me around. Then the monk said, let the Blessed One teach me the Dhamma in brief. Let the Fortunate One teach me the Dhamma in brief. Perhaps I may understand the meaning of the Blessed One's statement. Perhaps I may become an heir to the Blessed One's statement. And the Buddha said, well then, monk, purify the very starting point of wholesome states. And what is the starting point of wholesome states? Virtue that is well purified and view that is straight. Then, monk, when your virtue is well purified and your view straight, based upon virtue, established upon virtue, you should develop the 4 Satipatthanas in a 3-fold way. I'll stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is saying that actually later he will explain how to practice the 4 Satipatthanas in a 3-fold way. But the Buddha is telling this monk, basically before you practice Satipatthana, you have 2 foundations you have to establish. One is Sila, Aryan Sila. Aryan Sila actually is not so difficult. A lot of people think Aryan Sila, when the Buddha says an Arya has got perfect Sila, people think, wow, perfect Sila is very hard to keep. The monk already got 227 precepts. Maybe that is perfect Sila. But it is not. In the Buddha's Noble Eightfold Path, 3 factors constitute Sila. Right speech, right action, and right livelihood. Right speech consists of 4 precepts. Right action consists of 3 precepts. Right livelihood means not harming others. And that is covered by right speech and right action already. So actually this Sila component in the Noble Eightfold Path consisting of these 3 things is actually 7 precepts. Only 7 precepts. If you can uphold 7 precepts, you have the qualification to become an Arya. So it's not so difficult. A lot of people think it's difficult. So that this is the Sila, the virtue that the Buddha is talking about. Aryan Sila. First you must have Aryan Sila. And then you must have right view. View that is straight is right view. Right view means basically understanding the 4 Noble Truths. And if you listen to some of my talks, I've quoted the Majjhima Nikaya, I think 43, where the Buddha, it is stated that to attain right view, you need to hear the voice of another person, basically the teaching of the Dhamma from somebody else. You cannot attain right view on your own. And the second condition is Yoniso Manasikara, having careful attention or proper attention. Only these 2 conditions. If you listen to Dhamma with proper attention, you can attain right view. And it is mentioned in, I think, Anguttara Nikaya 9.20, that a Sotapanna has right view. So once you have attained right view, you have entered the stream. And once you enter the stream, it takes some time. In that same lifetime, you will become a Sotapanna. The stream enterer, first path, will change to Sotapanna, the fruit, within the same lifetime. So what the Buddha is saying is that first you have to keep your Sila, moral conduct, and then you learn the Dhamma until you understand the basic 4 Noble Truths. And then only you practice Satipatthana. And then the Buddha says, What for? What for Satipatthana? Here, monk, dwell contemplating the body in the body, internally, ardent, clearly comprehending, recollected, having removed covetousness and grief in regard to the world. Dwell contemplating the body in the body, externally, ardent, clearly comprehending or mindful, recollected, having removed covetousness and grief in regard to the world. Dwell contemplating the body in the body, internally and externally, ardent, clearly comprehending, recollected, having removed covetousness and grief in regard to the world. So here the Buddha is saying that contemplation of body can be done in 3 ways. One is contemplating the body internally, that means your own body. And then the second one is contemplating the body externally, external bodies, maybe your children's body, your wife or husband or anybody. And then you are contemplating both internally and externally the nature of the body. So that is body. And then in a similar way, you are contemplating feelings, mind and Dhamma internally and externally, and both. When monk, based upon virtue, established upon virtue, you develop these 4 intense states of recollection, thus in a 3-fold way. Then whether night or day comes, you may expect only growth in wholesome states, not decline. Then that monk, having delighted and rejoiced in the Blessed One's statement, rose from his seat, and after paying homage to the Blessed One, he departed, keeping him on his right. Then dwelling alone, withdrawn, diligent, ardent and resolute, that monk, by realizing it for himself with direct knowledge, in this very life, entered and dwelt in that unsurpassed goal of the holy life, for the sake of which clansmen rightly go forth. From the household life into homelessness, he directly knew, destroyed his birth, the holy life has been lived, what had to be done has been done. There is no more for this state of being. And that monk became one of the Arahants. So here, the important teaching in this sutta is that before you practice meditation, you must have good moral conduct, and you must also possess right view. That means you must listen to the Dhamma and get right view first before anything else. That is why in the Majjhima Nikaya Sutta 117, it is mentioned that when you practice the Noble Eightfold Path, you must always start with right view. After you get right view, that will lead you to right thoughts, and right thoughts will lead you to right speech, etc. So a lot of people, they come into Buddhism and they start practicing meditation without a good knowledge of the Buddha's teachings. Sometimes they are practicing wrong methods, they don't know, and they waste many years.